What's going on to all my Apple TV Plus fans out there, and welcome back to my channel Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new TV review, and today we're discussing the first 3 episodes of the brand new dark comedy by the name of The Shrink Next Door, which has a star-studded cast and a really interesting story. What did I think about the first 3 episodes, and are they worth checking out? Well, we're going to break it all down here in this spoiler-free review, but before we do so, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel, well, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert from when I drop new content. If you all enjoyed this spoiler-free TV review, well, make sure to like and share the review. It helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate the support. And in those comments, let me know if this show was circled on your calendar. But more importantly, once you've seen the first 3 episodes, what'd you think about it? Let's talk about the story, the comedy, the drama. Let's talk about our 3 main characters. We got Will Ferrell, we have the world's sexiest man alive in Paul Rudd, and we have one of my personal favorites in Kathryn Hahn. What do you think about the performances? But more importantly, are you intrigued enough to watch this on a week-to-week basis? Let's talk about it in the comments below. So before we break down the first 3 episodes in this spoiler-free review, for you all that aren't too familiar with the show, let me fill you all in. So The Shrink Next Door follows the story of a psychologist who begins to implement himself in the life of one of his patients. This is based on a podcast, and all of the episodes are directed by Michael Showalter, and the show stars Will Ferrell, Paul Rudd, and Kathryn Hahn. All right, so let's get into this review here. And before we kind of dive into these episodes, just my expectations. Again, I am a big Will Ferrell fan. He does some movies that I'm not the biggest fan of, but for the most part, I mean, Step Brothers, Talladega Nights, I mean, Old School. He's one of my favorite comedians growing up as a kid in regards to seeing him in the comedies, also SNL. So I'm a fan of his. And seeing when he does the drama really intrigues me. It's like when we see Jim Carrey do drama, and it's just like the guy can make me laugh, but he can also make me cry. So I was really intrigued to see Will Ferrell in a more serious role. Yes, it's a dark comedy, and we'll talk about it in the review, but I was really excited to see him play that drama role. Paul Rudd, listen, man, I have been a Paul Rudd fan since I was a kid. Obviously, seeing him now getting more of the limelight with the MCU and other projects, and he's done other TV shows in the past. He did a show on Netflix a couple years ago that I really enjoyed. Seeing him kind of playing somewhat of a bad guy is something that we rarely see Paul Rudd do in his career, so I was really excited to see that. And then I cannot speak highly enough about Kathryn Hahn. I think she is just a golden gem. I love her in comedy, drama, romance. Seeing her recently destroy WandaVision and have one of the best songs this year. I'm a big Kathryn Hahn fan. So listen, I didn't care what this show was about. It could have been about 3 people talking about the ABCs. I was going to watch it because I love these 3 actors. I like the director. The Big Sick is one of the films that he directed in the last 5 years, which is one of my favorite comedies in the last decade. So I was really excited for it. We got a drama. We got someone destroying someone's life. Apple TV Plus, you all know I'm a fan. So here we are starting off with the first episode here. Again, no spoilers, but just my initial thoughts. So as a good first episode does, it lays down the foundation. Who are these characters? What do their lives look like before all this stuff goes down? And that's essentially what this first episode gives us. And in regards to our 3 main characters, we are first introduced to Will Ferrell, who plays Marty. Now, Marty is someone who, at this point in his life, he's coming up to the age of 40. He is very overwhelmed by a lot of stuff that he has on his plate. 1, he's running his father's business. 2, he has a girlfriend that is really kind of taking advantage of him. And 3, he's just not happy right now. He gets very overwhelmed by stuff. He has like these panic attacks, and he just is not in the best spot in mental capacity to handle all the stuff that he has going on in his life. So we meet him, and again, I thought that the first episode showed us that other side of Will Ferrell, showed us not the funny, goofy, slapstick, funny Will Ferrell, but the more serious, someone that's dealing with the, kind of depression, dealing with anxiety. So I really kind of like the performance that we get with Will Ferrell here in this first episode. So we meet him, and then we meet, like I mentioned, Kathryn Hahn, who I love. She plays Phyllis, who is his sister, who has her own stuff to deal with. She has, I believe, 3 kids. She's going through a divorce, but she works with Marty at their parents' old kind of fabric shop that they work together. So we get to meet her, and her main thing in this first episode, we learn very early on that she's a very overprotective sister. She always kind of looks at Marty, as she says, as one of her children, because he can't always fend for himself, as we learn from Marty in this first episode. So I kind of like their dynamic that we get within the first episode. But it's introducing Paul Rudd as Ike, who is the therapist, very charming, has a lot of charisma. Everyone loves him. but he seems to be a person that will take advantage of someone that doesn't know they're being taken advantage of very quickly. And we learned that very early within this first episode. And just kind of briefly going over what to expect in this episode without giving too much away, we see that, again, Marty is very easily kind of duped by people. He always looks for the best in people. He doesn't look for the worst in people. So when he is introduced to Ike, who, by the way, his sister's like, listen, Marty, I think you need to talk to someone. You should probably, get your feelings out with someone, because he keeps a lot of his stuff in, especially going through this breakup with his girlfriend. So he takes the advice. He meets Ike, and Ike is one of those people that's like, hey, we don't have to be traditional. You don't have to tell me all your feelings. If you don't really want to do this, that's fine. But hey, let's go out and get something to eat. Let's play a game of basketball. And it's in that moment that Ike is slowly but surely gaining the trust from Marty. And this is where Marty's like, hey, maybe this is a good guy. Maybe I should consider this therapy thing and see what it's all about. And that's really essentially what this first episode gives us, is just you're slowly seeing Ike and Marty, the patient and the therapist, becoming close friends. And we know that there should be boundaries between when you have a therapist and the client. And there's no boundaries within this first episode. I'll just say that. But I thought, again, first episode really establishes the characters well. The comedy, again, this show isn't really a comedy as you would think it would be with these three main people that we know from comedy, but it has more like situational comedy, not like body comedy or just like over the top comedy, but just more or less just, like I said, awkward type of situations that these characters find themselves in. And I found that the drama wasn't all that implemented in this first episode, but I did think that the character development was something that really shined through in that first episode to me. So really intrigued by the first episode, which brings us to the second episode, which we're just seeing now. We're several weeks removed from the first episode, in which we see this friendship really becoming something more of a serious matter between Marty and Ike. And we see that now Marty, who in episode 1 was very timid, he is the owner of his business that his parents gave him, but he was never an owner or a boss that was very like, you need to do this, you need to stick by the rules. He was very just kind of like, oh, you guys can come in whenever you want. You can have your little side conversations about your personal life. But in the second episode, he's like, we're going to start to have rules. We're going to start to abide by those rules. And that even goes for his sister, Phyllis, who is the sister who can walk in late, who can bring in her family drama to the table. But this newfound confidence and control of his life is all thanks to his new best friend, Ike. So you really kind of get that established within the second episode. And in particularly, without giving too much away, I'll just say the second episode involves Marty, who we learn at an early age, he had a bar mitzvah. It wasn't the best bar mitzvah for him. And we see Ike is like, hey, how about you have another bar mitzvah for your 40th birthday? And secretly, we see Ike is really doing that more for himself, as you all will find out in the episode, which you get. This is where you start to see, oh, Ike is more of a him versus the others type of thing. He thinks more about him than he does about Marty, about his wife who we meet in this episode, about anyone else. It's all about what Ike is wanting to do. So you really kind of get that really kind of established in this episode, and as well as Phyllis is like, that relationship doesn't seem right. You should not have your therapist recommending you to have a party that might be more of a personal thing. So you're starting to see Phyllis, she isn't the biggest fan of this character, Ike, even though she was the one that set them up. So again, more of that character development, more of that narrative, more of you're starting to see more and more of Ike taking advantage of Marty, whether it's finances, whether him charging him extra money for their extra sessions and him giving him money just for like things that he wants. So you're starting to see the onions peel and the characters starting to kind of establish what this story is really going to be about, which is seeing Marty being truly taken advantage of by this very charming man, the sexiest man alive, Paul Rudd. So again, really good episode again. More of the comedy beats, more of the drama, more of this story establishing itself in that second episode, which I really enjoy, which brings us to the final episode, episode 3, which had a lot of stuff going on. Number one, at this point of the show, that really good foundation that Marty and Phyllis had is really kind of crumbling, because Phyllis is really kind of overstepping her boundaries and getting more involved in her brother's relationship with this therapist, whether it's calling him, whether it's her doing her own research. We see at this point, 3 episodes in, that Marty has invited Ike to kind of work for him in the business and offer kind of more therapeutic type of sessions with his other employees to get them more excited about life, but more importantly, more excited about going to work on a day-to-day basis. So we're seeing this exchange of like, hey, I'll offer you to work for me, Ike. And in exchange, we see Ike's like, you know what? I want to do something good for you, Marty. I'm going to have you do this kind of big job with your fabric company on this theater thing that could be something that could have went south. Once you all see the episode, you'll know what I'm talking about. That could have went really bad in regards to this gig that Marty was given by Ike. But again, just kind of the dynamic that really stood out to me. And I thought that episode 3 was probably my favorite out of the 3 because there is something that happens again between the siblings where Phyllis is going through a divorce. She wants some money from her brother, and you're starting to see that Ike is the only one that takes advantage of our main character, Marty. Marty's just, I don't want to say he's a pushover, but he is a pushover. And we even see his sister, she doesn't take advantage of him from like a mean aspect, but she knows that she can, you know, we learn that Marty and his sister come from money. So she's like, hey, can I dig into the trust to help me pay for my divorce? And we see that this isn't the first time she's done that. And it's within that 3rd episode that we see that Marty and his family, they come from money. And I mentioned that Ike takes advantage of people. So when he learns that Marty has some money, he really sinks his teeth into his friendship and want to be a good friend to Marty so he can maybe work his way into the setup there, especially when you wrap up the episode and you see a very familiar house that we see in the very first episode and how he might have made his way into that house. And I'll just kind of leave it at that. So as far as the first 3 episodes, as far as the performances, I think the standout actor for me was Kathryn Hahn as Phyllis. She is a no-nonsensical as far as she doesn't take anyone's stuff, whether it's from her brother, whether it's from this new character, Ike. So I really, really love the performance by Kathryn Hahn. I like the dynamic that she brings. I can see her being an overprotective sister. I can see the bad sides of her, financially speaking, maybe not being the best decision maker in her choices in men and kind of really letting herself out there. So I thought Kathryn Hahn was the standout for me in the first 3 episodes. Paul Rudd, again, the world's sexiest man. I got to bring that up because it was just announced the other day. But I love Paul Rudd, and I really love that they casted him in this role because he is very charming. He is a very nice guy, that he presents himself in that light. But we can see as the episodes unfold, his relationship with his wife, his relationship with his other colleagues, his relationship with his other people he's worked with in the past, that you can tell that this is someone that can see the weakness in people in regards to, oh, they give me all of their vulnerability moments. I'm going to play on that and see how it can benefit me. So I thought that Paul Rudd was perfectly cast in that role because you want to root for the guy, but you want to punch him in the face when you see his true intentions or start to see his true intentions. And then out of the 3, I really enjoyed Will Ferrell's role. I don't think he elevated the role like the other 2 characters that I just mentioned did, but I still think that Will Ferrell is doing a good job in it. And it just makes you sad when you see people that seem, even Marty, he is a pushover, but he seems to be a really nice guy. He sees the best in people. So I just hate seeing people getting taken advantage of. And I think Will Ferrell's playing that off pretty well. So as the 3 episodes go, I recommend you all give it a watch. It's not breaking new ground by any means. You've seen this story before. We've seen many stories of people getting taken advantage of. But I think it's the charm, it's the charisma, it's the subtlety of the comedy, it's the intrigue to see, okay, when is it when Marty's going to start to see, yo, your therapist is taking advantage of you. So it keeps you intrigued enough to make you want to see more. And I have to say personally, I'm invested. I'm going to plan on watching the show on a week-to-week basis, but I'm just doing this review to interact with you all. So let me know in the comments, again, your pros, your cons, your thoughts of the first 3 episodes. Will you be back on a week-to-week basis? And if so, do you want this guy to review this on a recap basis and talk more in depth about the characters and the story and the narrative and the performances? If you all do, well, make sure to like the video, share the video, leave your thoughts in the comments. If I see enough engagement, I love interacting with you all, but as you all know, I cover a lot of other shows and movies, and I have my own personal life, so I invest a lot of time in my channel and invest a lot of time with you all. So if you all really like this show and want to continue to talk about it, show me by engaging on this video, and we can make that happen. But neither here nor there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you stuck around to this point in the video, I appreciate every single one of you all. Before you leave, make sure again to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss any of my other future reviews. Hope you enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe. As you can see on the screen now, subscribe to my channel, check out my other content, and we'll catch you in the next video.